Two hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He doesn't seem to be breathing, and his eyes are closed. The other guy whips out his phone and calls the emergency services. He gasps, "My friend is dead. What can I do?" The operator says, calm down, I can help. First, let's make sure he's dead." And there is a silence. Then you hear a shot. Back to the phone. The guy says, "Okay, now what?" Did it make you laugh? It is the funniest joke in the world. According to the huge experiment was carried out in 2002 by a psychologist, Richard Wiseman. Almost 2 million people from 70 countries voted on more than 14,000 jokes, making the Laugh Lab study the world's largest exercise into the mysterious notion of humor and earning a Guinness World Record along the way. Humor is something that the majority of us use and enjoy instinctively, but there is a plenty of scientific research to confirm humor is good for us. Psychologists Herbert Lefcourt and Rod Martin were among the first to prove that stressed out people with strong sense of humor become less depressed and anxious. Welcome you to the weekly EIY public speaking live stream section with the topic Injecting Humor in the Workplace. Hello everyone, my name is Nguyen, who is EIY public speaking founder, and I will be facilitating this live stream section tonight. Being with me, I would like to introduce to you an important guest, Mr. Mohammed Alqahtani, the 2015 World Champion of Public Speaking, will join us this live stream session and share his insights on how to inject humor in the workplace. Hello, Mr. Alqahtani. Would you like to say hello to our learners and members?
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a wonderful time.
Yeah, great. EIY Public Speaking is organized with the mission to deliver public speaking communication and leadership values to individual learners and serve as a training resource to national and international organizations throughout Vietnam. And we are delivering a weekly Thursday live stream session from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. There will be more valuable live stream sections consisting of several different topics for corporate professionals who are engaged in career development. And please consider liking our page so we can share our live streams for the educational benefit to a lot of people. And regarding our live stream agenda tonight, Mr. Alqahtani is going to share with us different techniques you can inject humor in the workplace, and he will pause after each technique for the interaction with the audience. If you have any follow-up questions or you would like to seek the advice from Mr. Alqahtani, just feel free to do so and comment on our live stream. Mr. Alqahtani, how about sharing with our audience right now the first technique to inject humor in the workplace?
First of all, thank you all for having me, and it's a pleasure to be speaking to you guys. It has been a plan for me to visit Vietnam, but since this coronavirus thing is taking us by storm, I think this will have to wait, hopefully, in the near future. So I'll be talking to you about how to inject humor while you speak. We'll focus mostly on the workplace, but that will come at the end. I'm going to divide my speech into three topics. The first one is the techniques and how to inject humor, and then the second part is how to do the delivery in a way that will make the joke last or land very well. And thirdly, how to use it during or in the workplace. Now, keep in mind, humor is not the same as telling a joke. Telling a joke is when you Google a joke online and you find a joke, and then you go to your friends and you tell them the joke. Humor is driving a joke or humor from something that could happen to you. So while you're speaking or describing something, you could make it sound kind of a funny. So
mm,
where can you drive humor from? Now, there are three things that you can drive humor from. First
yep,
is an incident. So you can tell a story about what happened to you last night, for example. So this is an incident.
mm,
And when you're telling the story, you can like you can find jokes around that story. Secondly
yep,
is a person. So you can drive humor based on a person, maybe you or maybe someone else, and we have to be careful about that, which we'll be talking about later. And finally, you can derive humor from what I call an environment. Now, what do we
mm,
mean by environment is something that anybody could go through.
yep,
For example, waiting in line at the airport. So
mm,
that's an environment. You can drive a lot of humor from that. Uh, Going to the postal office, waking up
mm,
in the morning. So these are things that everybody goes through every single day, and you can drive humor out of that. Now,
yeah,
any joke that you tell or any humor that you tell has three
mm,
parts. The first part is the joke premise. The second part is the joke preparation, and the third
mm,
part is the most important is the punchline. So I'll give you an example. If I said to you, so I was at the barber shop the other day. I wanted to get my hair highlighted because I think some of my hair is more important than the others. So the the premise of the joke is the barbershop. You're going to the barbershop. The
mm,
preparation is you want to get your hair highlighted. And you focus on the word highlighted because the punchline is I feel some of my hair is more important than the others. So highlighting is when you highlight something that's important. So I use the word highlight as part of the punchline. So this is how you can set up a joke. You need the premise, you need the preparation for the joke, and then you need the punchline. Now we're gonna
mm,
go through some techniques on how you can drive humor.
yep,
The first technique is what's called exaggeration. Now, exaggeration is when you describe something, but you
yep,
describe it in a way that's way too exaggerated to the point that it doesn't make
mm,
sense. And the more outlandish it is, the more it doesn't make sense, the funnier it is. I'll give you an example. I visited
mm,
a small town last week.
okay,
The town was so small that the entry and the exit sign are on the same pole. Now, why is that funny? Because I was talking about a town, and the thing I'm describing is how small the town is. And I squeezed the town so small that the entry and the exit
mm,
sign are on the same pole, which means the sign, I mean, which means the whole town is like the width of the pole. Now, it doesn't make sense, but because it doesn't make sense, it sounds funny. Here is another example. So she cooked a meal for me the other day. It was so nasty that Taco Bell said to her, "Oh, come on, you cannot serve that to people."
yep,
Now, why is that funny? Because Taco Bell is known for having the horrible food. So the food that she made was so horrible that even Taco Bell
mm,
themselves said, "Oh, come on, this is just nasty." So that is what's called exaggeration. So how can you do an exaggeration? Find out something that you want to describe, and then find out the adjective that you want to describe of that something, and then exaggerate the description. If something that you want to describe is my nose, and the adjective is how big my nose is. I can say his nose is so big that it needs its own zip code. So I took the size of the nose and expanded it so much that it sounds like a town by itself. Is that clear? Are you guys with me? Am I still on? Hello?
I think there's something wrong with the technical, Mr. Quatani.
All right. Can you hear me and see me? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Are you there now?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me and see me? Hello? Are you still there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you and see you. Can you hear me and see me now?
Hello?
Yes, hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see you now, but the connection is not really strong.
Okay, I think there is a bit of a delay. So back to the example that I was describing, which
Yeah.
is the exaggeration. So if I said, for example, I want to exaggerate the size of my nose,
Mm.
I can say, for example, he has a nose that is so big, it has its own zip code. So I took the nose, and the description is how big it is, and I exaggerated the size so much that the nose is now as big as a city or a town, that it needs its own zip code. So this is the first technique of humor, which is exaggeration. The second technique is what's called pun humor. Now, pun humor is when you take a word that could have more than one meaning, or two words that could sound the same,
Mm.
and derive humor from the other meaning of the word or the phrase.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example.
sure.
I have been to the dentist so many times. Don't worry, I know the drill. Now, why is that funny? Because the word drill is what a dentist used to do to our teeth. But the phrase, I know the drill, is a common phrase that means, I know what's going on. So the joke becomes, I've been to the dentist so many times. I know the drill.
Yeah.
Here's like another one. So he could not reach the meat on the top shelf. He said that the steak was too high.
Yeah.
So I use the word steak, which is Stake, and the word
Yeah.
steak, which is Steak. Two words have two different meanings, but because the words sound the same, I
Mm.
derive the joke from the other meaning.
Gotcha.
So how can you do pun humor?
Mm.
Find a word or an expression,
Yeah.
then find a different meaning of the word or the expression, or a word that sounds the same as the word that you picked, then
Yeah.
derive the humor from the other word.
Mm.
Here's an example.
Yeah.
If I said to you, wild animal,
Mm.
what does wild animal mean?
The animals living in the forest.
Exactly. So it's an animal that lives in like lives in the wild.
Yeah. Right.
The word wild. What does the
Mm.
word wild mean?
Mm. Like not really in habitat. Not
Okay,
really.
so
Yeah.
that's one meaning. However, Also, the word wild means, someone who is, woo, crazy and wild, right? So
Right.
it's one word that has two meanings. So
Mm-mm.
my joke, it could be like this.
Yeah.
My cat is a wild animal.
Yeah.
She likes to party every single night. So the word wild, as in wild animal, I took the
Yeah.
word wild, but I took
Mm,
the other meaning and I drove humor from the other meaning. My cat
mm.
is a wild animal. She likes
Yeah.
to party and drink all night long. So now that becomes funny. The third type of humor
Yeah.
is what's called the similes. Now, the
Similar.
simile is when you compare two things or describe two things, and the comparison, you drive the humor from the thing that you're comparing this to.
Mm.
Here's an example.
Yeah.
The weather was so cold, colder than
Mm.
a metal toilet plate in Siberia. So Siberia is very cold, and a metal cold plate, toilet plate is very cold as well.
Mm.
So here's another example.
Yeah.
She had a throaty, deep laugh. It sounded like a dog before it make. Like it sounds like a dog before it throws up. So the similes is when you use the word it sounds like, or it looks like, or it smells like. So when you use the word like, is that's what the similes are.
Yeah.
How you can do the similes humor? Find something that you want to like describe.
Yeah.
Find the adjective that you want to describe it.
Mm.
Then crazy, wild thing you compare it to.
Mm.
As an example,
Yeah.
her hair was waving in the wind.
Mm.
So the thing that I want to describe is how wavy the hair is. So her hair is wavy in the wind, just like a nose hair after you sneeze.
Uh,
That's what the punchline is. I compared it to something, crazy or outlandish. The
ah.
fourth type of humor, and for me is the easiest type, even if you,
Mm.
a lot of people say, I'm not funny, I don't know how to tell jokes. If that's what you think you are, this type
Yeah.
of humor is very easy for you to do. This is
Mm.
called triple humor.
Can you
Now,
say that one?
a triple, as in,
Triple.
yes. So a triple humor is
Mm.
when you name three things.
Yeah.
The first two are normal,
Mm.
but the third one is either abnormal or opposite,
Like a punchline, right? That's a punchline, right?
and that's a punchline. So,
Mm.
it's an example. He was the perfect guy, tall, handsome, collects stamps. Now, why is that funny at the end? Because tall and
Mm.
handsome are two things that a lot of women look for in a guy. Collect
Mm-mm.
is something weird. No woman look
Yeah.
for a guy who collects stamps, and that makes it
Mm.
funny. He was the perfect guy, tall, handsome, collects stamps. Here's another example.
Mm.
It was a perfect wedding. White cake, nice reception, drunken uncle. So the third one is something that you don't want to have at a
Yeah.
wedding. So the
Mm.
first two are normal, and the third one is the abnormal, and that's what makes it fun. Now, how can you do triple humor? Pick
Yeah.
three things. The first one is normal. Second one
Mm.
is normal, and again,
Yeah.
the third one is either complete opposite,
Mm.
something abnormal, or
Got
something
you.
that doesn't make sense. So,
Mm.
here's an example. He can breed anything:
Mm.
dogs, cats, rhinos. So rhinos is something that you cannot breed, and that's
Yeah.
make it fun. You can do the same thing again. He can breed
Mm.
anything: dogs, cats, hares. So now, and you can make more things at the end, and that will make it fun. The fifth type of humor that you can drive is called misdirection. Now, in direction is when you're telling a story and the audience expect
Yeah.
it to go somewhere, but then at the
Mm.
end, the punchline is you take it to a completely different conclusion.
Yeah.
Here's an example. My little baby fell on the ground and he hit his head. He hit his head on the side of the table.
Mm.
Blood was gushing all over the place,
Yeah.
all over the carpet. And I screamed, "Oh my God, I just cleaned the floor." Now, why is that funny? Because I'm telling a story of a child who injured his head and blood is
Mm.
coming out. And he
Yeah.
said, "Oh my God, the audience expects that I'm worried about my baby." It turns out I'm worried more about the floor. And
Yeah.
that's where the humor comes from.
Mm.
How can you drive it? Try to tell a story, expect where the audience are going through, and take a
Yeah.
conclusion and, and shift it into something completely different.
Gotcha.
Here's an example.
Mm.
I lost my father a year ago. I remember I kept on screaming, "God, why? Why? Why did you take him? I didn't have enough money for the funeral." Now people will laugh at that. Why? Because they thought I'm sad because I lost my father. Turns out I'm
Mm.
sad because I don't have money to pay for the funeral. That's what makes.
Okay.
The sixth type of humor is called sarcasm. Now, and
Sarcasm. Mm.
sarcasm is when you say a sentence
Mm.
that, when written, it sounds okay, but your tone of voice is sarcastic. Here's an
Yeah.
example. Hmm, nice perfume. Did you swim in it?
Mm.
Now that's funny. Why? Because it indicates that you have so much perfume on you that you swam in a perfume.
Mm.
Here's another one. Oh, so you failed your exam. What a surprise. Why is that funny? I'm not surprised because it's expected of you to fail your exam, but your tone of voice is a sarcastic tone of voice.
Yeah.
And here's another example. Oh, and then I heard the weather forecast for tonight. It's gonna be, dark. So the sarcasm is it's always dark, but I mean it
Mm.
with a sarcastic tone of voice.
Yeah.
The next type of humor is what I call self-deprecation. Now, with self-deprecation is you can use any of the techniques that we talked about,
Mm.
but you make fun of yourself. Now, this is
Uh,
the safest way that you can do humor. Why? Because if I do humor on someone else, for example,
mm.
or in the crowd or in the office, if I
Mm.
pick humor on someone else, at the beginning they might laugh at it, but then they might actually hate the fact that I'm picking jokes on them. Also, if you pick humor on a certain group of people, for example,
Mm.
or on women, or on men, or old
Mm.
people, or young people. Yes, the
Mm.
other group might laugh, but that specific group might hate you for it. So to be safe,
Mm.
the easiest way that you can pick humor is picking humor on yourself. Now, this is
Uh,
good for two reasons. First, you are
mm.
safe from offending other people. Second,
Mm.
it shows strength and courage about who you are. I want you
Yeah.
to think about what is the one thing that you hate most about yourself. Maybe
Mm.
you hate the fact that you're overweight. Maybe you hate the fact that you're tall, like way too tall or way too short. When you pick jokes or humor about yourself based on that, people respect you more. That you do acknowledge that you're a problem. For example, I'm a bit overweight. So if I start picking jokes about, you know, when I go to buy clothes and it gets so tight on me, like I can barely breathe, people might laugh, But again, I'm saying that I'm comfortable with the fact that I'm overweight to the point that I
mm,
can joke about it. The next type of humor is what's called reference humor. Now, in
right,
reference humor is
mm,
when you reference something
mm,
that the audience or the people in front of you know about. It
yeah,
could be a recent event that happened.
mm,
It could be something that you already spoke about earlier while you're speaking or while you are, talking to the person. And
mm,
here's an example of it. If you look, for example, at what we are just going now with, with the coronavirus, for example. And one of the hot topics
mm,
that's going around is, the social distancing. You need to keep a
right,
distance between you and people. Now, this is a topic that everybody around knows, right? So I can pick jokes and reference that, and people will actually just get, just get the, just get the joke. For example, you know, I've been working on a site for a whole month. I haven't seen my family, and I
mm,
walked into the house, and my wife came up to me and said, "Baby, baby, just come here. Let me give you a hug." And I said, "Distancing, please." Now, why is that funny? Because people know what social distancing is. So this called reference humor.
yeah,
Now, so this is the techniques on how to
mm,
give jokes. Now comes
yeah,
to the to the delivery. Have you ever told a joke sometimes and people didn't laugh, even though the joke was good, but the delivery itself might be a problem? So how can you
same,
land a joke in a way that makes people laugh? First tip
mm,
is do not be the first person to laugh. When you laugh
oh,
on it lessen the punchline of the joke. If I told you a joke
gotcha,
and said, and I'm started laughing, people think, okay, it's not really as funny as I thought. Tell the joke still with a straight face.
uh, yeah,
Here is an example. With relationship, they're very hard. For example, take my wife, please.
mm,
Now, why is that funny? Because I said, take my wife, please. So the punchline was just one word, please. But if I said, take my wife, please. You get it? You get it? Did you get it? Now the joke lost its value. So don't be the first to learn your own joke.
mm,
Avoid body languages that might give the joke away or might actually lessen the gravity of the joke. For example,
mm,
putting your hand in your pocket, looking down when you speak, and avoid
mm,
very long pauses when you speak.
yeah,
Yes, you need to pause before the punchline. But if you pause
yeah,
for too long, the punchline becomes useless. Next, when you are being funny or you're telling humor,
mm,
maintain composure when the joke doesn't work. I need to tell
mm,
you something. When you are being funny or you're telling jokes, there's always 50 to 50 chance that people might get it or people might not get it. If you
right,
notice now, I have given some humor.
mm,
You laughed at it, and sometimes you didn't laugh at it,
because I don't
which is okay.
understand.
Which is okay. Which means your audience, there's only a 50-50 chance that your audience might get the joke, but they also might not get the joke. Now, if they didn't get the joke, don't say, uh, you didn't get it. So now it shows on you that because they didn't get it, it starts to affect your performance. Once you put
Mm,
in your mind that every joke that you tell, there is a 50-50 chance. If it works,
mm,
they laugh, that's great. If they didn't, don't stop, keep on going. Go to the next one. Don't let it startle you that people didn't laugh at your joke.
yeah, gotcha. Just pass through it, right?
And use pauses before the punchline.
Mm,
Try to avoid the long pauses. But you have to pause before you give the punchline
yeah,
because it prepares your audience that what's coming is the punchline. If you tell a joke and you don't pause for the punchline, people think that you're still telling the story. and they might
Mm,
not know that this was a punchline that I was supposed to laugh at.
mm, gotcha.
Adjust your humor to
Mm,
your audience, which means the people of older age, they might relate more to the sarcasm humor and to the
mm,
exaggeration humor,
I see.
and sometimes to pun humor. But they don't
Mm,
like the misdirection humor, and they don't like the, I mean, similes humor. These
yeah,
humors usually work with a younger audience. So if
gotcha.
you're someone older, make sure that most of your jokes are sarcastic, fun humor. If you're
Mm,
dealing with someone who's younger, you can
yeah.
introduce exaggeration, similes, and triple humor. These are the things
Mm,
that work with a younger audience. So
yep.
now I told you how the techniques, the like delivery. Now let's take it to the workplace. When not to use it. You
Yep.
have to be very careful not to be the clown of the office.
Mm,
This is very dangerous because humor is
yeah.
very powerful in order for you to get into people's good side. They make people
Mm,
like you, they make people want to listen to you. However, you do it so much, you become the clown. And when you become the clown, people
mm,
are not taking you seriously. And this could
mm,
affect your work. Why?
mm,
Because people will now have a perception about you that you're just there to make fun and make everybody laugh. But I
mm,
cannot
mm,
trust this person with an important project because he's not a serious person. And
gotcha.
this could be very dangerous. Bigger
Mm,
promotion, bigger project could go to someone else while you're just, the clown of the office.
mm,
So when can you inject humor? If you notice that the situation that you're in is a bit tense. For
mm,
example, week your boss has been overworking you and your colleagues.
mm,
And
mm,
this it's very tense, everybody's busy, everybody's hating the job. This is a
yeah.
place where you use humor to lighten the mood a little bit. The same thing could happen with your boss as well. Every morning
Mm,
you pass by his or his office and you
mm,
notice every time you say, I mean, like when you pass by your boss and you say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Hey today, how are you? And if you say, for example, hi, hi, how are you? And the answer is, oh, hey, how are you? That means he's in a good mood. If the answer is, hey, that means your boss is in a very bad mood. Maybe this is a chance for you to, ease the tension that he has a little bit.
mm,
Third place
yeah.
where you can use humor is technical presentations, especially if you have a presentation be very long, like half more. People do not want to sit through technical presentation for that long,
Sure.
and they might get bored with your topic. So make
Mm,
sure within your topic, every 3 to 4 minutes, you inject a
mm,
joke or two, and it has to be something related to the topic that you are presenting.
gotcha.
People get to laugh, they want to listen to
Mm,
you more, which means they will get to listen to everything that you say within that
mm,
half an hour or an hour, and that makes the message that you want to deliver, it will just resonate more with
mm,
your their audience. And finally, be yourself. I know a
mm,
lot of people say I'm not a funny person, and here's an example. I am not a funny person. Yet I do stand-up comedy, and in my speeches I make people laugh. Why? Because humor is something that you can learn. Go back to the
mm,
techniques that I explained to you. Use
yeah.
it in your everyday life. When you're
Mm,
telling me a story of what happened to you today, for example, since you
yeah.
woke up until now, the things that you went through, when you tell me the story, use the techniques that I talked about, the exaggeration, fun, the triple humor, the misdirections. Use it to make your talk funny.
Yeah.
When you paint a smile on people's faces,
Mm,
you have no idea what a great feeling that is. And people would love
mm,
your people would love to
mm.
be around you because you're a person who take their trouble away and always manage to put a smile on their faces.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening.
I see. Thank you so much, Mr. Kotani, to share with us the techniques to apply humor in the workplace. And we have some follow-up questions in order to ask you. Because I
Sure.
just realized that in order to create humor, we need to look at things in another perspective. The perspective that maybe the other people didn't look at it before.
Yeah.
And how
See, when you look
yeah,
at, when you look at everything that happens to your life,
mm,
the even the good and the bad thing. If you look at it with a dark eye, then you will never find the
yeah,
humor.
mm,
If you look at it with an optimistic, happy eye, you'll always find the humor. I always drive this example of what we are going through right now with the
mm,
whole COVID-19, and economy is going down, and like a lot of countries are on lockdown.
yeah,
Is this a hard time? Of course it is. But just take a minute and just look at the funny things that could come out of it.
mm,
For example, you're locked in, you're at home the entire time, and you're there with your loved one, your husband, your wife, your kids. What humor can you drive out of that? I can say, for
mm,
example, what ever since this COVID-19 thing started and I'm stuck at home and I'm noticing there are kids at my house. Apparently, they are my kids because I haven't seen them in like months. I'm working all day long. So I can drive humor from that. I
mm,
can drive humor from how I drive my wife crazy and how she drives me crazy because of, we're stuck together in one place. I can drive humor how I miss my friends so much that when they call me, I start crying. I haven't talked to you in a week. Where have you been? So I can drive humor from
mm,
all these things. Yes, the situation is something that everybody hates, but we can always find humor.
mm. Yeah, got you. Another question we have is that I just realized that in order to create humor, you also need to incorporate your voice and body language. How
Yeah.
can you become a great actor like this in order to act out the character and make us laugh?
I would recommend for anybody who wants to really perfect humor is to go on YouTube and look for stand-up comedy and watch stand-up comedians and
Mm,
watch how they tell the joke. Not to steal the joke, but to see
mm,
what they did. And if you watch stand-up comedians, you'll find out that all the techniques that I explained to you today, that's what they use.
mm,
They use fun humor, they use misdirection, they use triple, they use exaggerations. But look at their face when they tell you the punchline. And try to
mm,
create the same facial expression when you are telling the joke.
mm,
Don't don't tell me a joke while you're smiling. Because if you're smiling when you tell me the joke loses its value. No. You can still tell a joke with a straight face. That will make it even more funny.
mm,
Look at me right now when I'm talking to you. Some of you might be laughing, even though I'm not laughing. But because I changed my persona to fit
mm,
the joke that I'm trying to say.
mm. I see. That means that we need to analyze some of the comedian
Yes.
in order to understand how they can use
Watch
the
them,
humor.
yeah. Watch them and see how they drive the jokes and try to drive
Mm,
the joke in the same way.
gotcha. Yeah. Okay. We have another question is that in order to create a joke in our speech, especially one of the points that you had mentioned is that we need to create a joke which is relevant to your topic or your speech, right?
Yeah.
And I watched your world champion of public speaking speech already. And how can you come up with those ideas in order to create humor in your speech? Because in order to find and create a new joke which is relevant to your topic, that is the challenging work.
Again, take your speech that you write, and your speech could be one of the things that we talked about. I mean, like at the beginning. It's either could be about a person, it could be about
mm,
an, or it could be about an environment.
yep,
And look at the areas about where you're driving your speech from.
mm,
For example, if I ask you today, what 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 did you do when
mm,
you when you woke up? This morning.
mm,
What's the first thing that you did when you woke up in the morning?
mm,
I'm asking you, what is the first thing that you did when you woke up today?
mm. The first thing you asked me,
Yes. What did
okay,
you do when you woke
I I opened my eyes and then I just I got into the toilet and I brushed
up?
my teeth.
All
I
right. So
cleaned.
exactly. Okay. So this is it could be an environment, which
Yep,
is into the toilet and brushing your teeth. All
yep,
right.
mm,
That's where we can find humor in that. All right.
mm,
So
yeah.
you walk into the toilet. Is it? If you walk into your bathroom, is it hot? Is it cold? What?
It's really hot,
It,
Katani. It's really hot in Ho Chi Minh City.
exactly. So it's like it's really hot. So we take the hot and we try to exaggerate it. So I walk into my bathroom. My bathroom was so hot. Now, how can we exaggerate hot?
It's so hot.
Yes, exaggerate. So, what is hot? For example, the sun is hot, right? So, I
Mm,
walked into my bathroom. My bathroom is so hot. I thought I was walking on the sun. Or my bathroom was so hot. I thought, is this hell? So now it's become kind of funny, even though it's just a normal day thing, which is walking into the bathroom. And now,
mm,
toothpaste. I'm brushing my teeth. The toothpaste, it tasted so bad. Like what?
like,
Yeah.
like, it's so bad. Like poop.
Okay. But okay. Like if you want to make it, kind of clean, it's so bad. Like a pickle that's been on the jar for 2 years. So, so now you're finding into the everyday things that we do. And the same thing could be done with your speech as well. Your speech could be about a person, or could be about an incident, or could be about an environment. Look at it and see where you can inject exaggeration. Where can you
Mm,
use humor? Where can you use triple humor? And I know it might sound not easy, but it's actually easier than um, if you have any speech character.
mm.
How would you? I'm like describe that character. Is he tall? How tall? Fat? How fat? And now we can see areas where we can actually put humor.
Mm, okay. I think that we have another question for you is that they just realized that they learn so many techniques from you in order to create humor. And how can we incorporate those humors into a speech? Could you please demonstrate a speech to us in order to understand how you incorporate those humors?
Well, I can give you like kind of a short speech that I've been working on
Mm,
lately, and
yep.
this is about. Um, I was trying to give a speech on about how to focus on being in a race with yourself, and I started by
Mm,
saying, have you ever have you ever hated someone for no reason? For
yes.
for me, it was when I was really young in school. I used to be, number one in the school, always a top student. But then when I got into high school, I met my worst enemy. His name is Tariq. Now, let me tell you why I hated Tariq. Tariq was everything that I wasn't. I was the shy, awkward student who sat at the back of the class. Meanwhile, he was very popular and everybody loved him. Tariq was a very handsome young man. Me, on the other hand, look at this. And to top it all off, at the end of the first month, he walks in and announced the top five students in the class. And Tariq was first, and I was second. And that's when I hated his guts. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to kill him. You know what really bothers me the most? He wasn't even trying. I studied all day long. He just walked into the exam and wins, becomes first. And it kills me inside. So now this is the beginning of my speech. Notice how I injected humor at the beginning of my speech. I used the self-deprecation humor when I said he's handsome and
Right.
look at that. So I made fun of myself. I said that, I'm a shy who sits at the back of the class like a kid who is going to grow up to be a serial killer. So I
Mm,
compared myself to a serial killer. And also I said, have you ever wanted to kill someone? No, that's exaggeration because nobody wants to kill someone, but that's exaggeration and that's what makes it funny. So this could be the beginning of my speech. And then later on, I dive into the serious stuff. Now, when you are giving a speech, ended that are always at the beginning of your speech, where the hard and the deep stuff you leave it at the
got you. That's very useful when we can see a little demonstration in a speech. And Mr. Katani, I think that it's time that we can close our live stream today because we already answered all of the questions of our audience, and I appreciate so much for your participation today. And based on your techniques sharing, I will definitely ask the learners and also myself to incorporate it and pay attention to the surrounding environment whenever we want to think in another new perspective and create a new humor in our workplace and also in our daily lives. Do you have the final message that you would like to share with our audience?
end. Try as much as possible to bring joy into people's lives, whether with humor or with like anything else, because people will forget who you are.
Mm,
People will forget what you said,
yeah,
but they never forget how you made them feel.
right.
That's the one thing that will last. Thank you so
Mm.
much.
And what you make me feel is you are a very humorous person, and I always feel that I enjoy so much when I spend time with you because I laugh a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. And hello everyone. So we are looking forward to see you next week on Thursday at 7 p.m. Vietnam time in order to enjoy the live stream of Mr. Valentine. That is one of the world champion of public speakings as well. Mohammed, do you remember Valentine?
Craig
Great,
Valentine. Yes, yeah. Craig
great.
Valentine is the 1999 world champion, and he's actually one of my favorite world champions. And I got a chance to meet him last year at
Mm,
the convention in Colorado, and that was the first time I ever actually met the guy. And he's a very sweet and humorous person, and I'm sure that you're going to learn a lot from him.
he's also humorous as well.
Yes, 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 yes. You're going to
Oh,
enjoy
I
it.
see. Okay, so see you everyone, and my name is Lennon. So hope to see you again on next Tuesday, on next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. And thank you so much, Mr. Kortani.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Yeah.